Pancake, everyone. In the late 18th century, the great Emperor Peter the Great faced the problem of succession to the throne. He did not know who to make successor. His eldest son Alexey was accused of treason and sent to prison, while his youngest son Peter died. Peter issued the decree on the succession to the throne in 1722. It was this document that abolished the ancient tradition of transferring power from the monarch to a direct male descendant. The monarch could now choose an heir at his own will. From this moment, the era of palace coups began. Let's take a look at the 8 main events that influenced this period of time. And before we start this episode, we advise you to subscribe to our channel and like the video, so you will help in the development of our channel and it will allow more people to enjoy our content. It was this decree that was responsible for the era of palace coups that began after the emperor's death. Power was replaced through the use of the power of the guardsman or the results of palace intrigue. There were no clear rules of succession to the throne, because of which the struggle of court factions was constant. After the death of Peter the Great, with the help of the guards and Menshikov, Catherine I came to the throne. It was she who created the Supreme Privy Council and opened the Academy of Sciences. In 1725, Peter I died without using his decree. The emperor did not have time to appoint an heir, and by that time, 2 opposing groups had formed. Through the power of the guards and Prince Menshikov, power was given to Catherine I, Peter's wife. When the governing Senate was discussing whom to place on the throne of the Russian Empire, the Guard gave its vote to Catherine I. This way, the Guards decided the fate of the throne, and from 1725 to 1727, the Russian Empire was ruled by Catherine I. On the one hand, Catherine was a wonderful person and a wise wife, but on the other hand, during her reign, she did not prove herself as empress. An important event was the fact that she, together with Peter I, opened the Academy of Sciences. She also created the Supreme Privy Council. The actual ruler of the country under Catherine I was her favorite Menshikov, who stood at the head of the Supreme Privy Council. After Catherine, power passed to the grandson of Peter the Great, Peter II. He was constantly influenced by various groups of people, and at the peak of his fame, became ill and died. In May of 1727, the Supreme Privy Council, created once by Catherine, passed power to Peter II, the grandson of Peter the Great, and the son of Prince Alexey, who was accused of treason. The opinions of the highest aristocracy, the guards, and Peter's supporters agreed that Peter II should be the next ruler. As a result, he became Emperor of Russia before he even turned 12. Menshikov decided that he would be the one to control the teenager. And in the beginning, Peter II was under his de facto influence. He planned to marry Peter to his daughter Maria, and thereby become connected with the royal power. But at the height of his fame, Alexander Menshikov fell ill, and power passed from his hands to the old family aristocracy. The Golitsins and Dolgorukis quickly persuaded Peter not to study, but to lead a dissolute life. After Menshikov recovered and tried to influence Peter, he was sent into exile in Siberia. Peter II remained under the control of the aristocratic elite until 1730. They tried to marry him a second time to Catherine Dolgoruki, but sometime before the wedding, Peter II fell ill and died very quickly. After the death of Peter II, the Supreme Privy Council, after discussion, chose Anna Ioannovna as the new ruler. It gave her conditions, but Anna overplayed them and destroyed them quite literally. After the death of Peter II, the Supreme Privy Council met to decide who should be given power. There were no direct heirs to the throne. Peter the Great did have 2 daughters, Elizabeth and Anna, but they were not considered heirs. Here, the Supreme Privy Council remembered that Peter the Great's brother Ivan had 3 daughters, one of whom, Anna Ioannovna, lived in Courland and was a widow. The Supreme Privy Council decided to elect Anna Ioannovna as Empress of Russia, and before that, it set conditions for her that limited her power. At first, she signed these conditions in order to get out of Courland and get a place as Empress in Russia, but when the Empress arrived in Russia, she saw that the guards and the nobles were opposed to the country being run by the supremacists, so then she broke the conditions, thereby showing that she was refusing the restrictions imposed upon her by the Supreme Privy Council. Therefore, she ruled like the previous emperors, as in autocratically. Anna Ioannovna ruled the Russian Empire from 1730 to 1740. She abolished the Supreme Privy Council. The Golitsins and Dolgorukis were subjected to repression. Characteristic of Anna's reign reign was the so-called Byronovshchina, named after the Empress's favorite Byron, who was her co-ruler. There were many Germans in the government. In fact, they occupied all of the major government posts. Minich was the head of the army, Ostermann was the head of the cabinet of ministers. The Empress loved to have fun with her favorite Germans, and for all of this entertainment, huge taxes were gathered from the Russian people. At the dusk of Anna Ioannovna's life, power went to Anna Leopoldovna, but the ruler changed her mind, and the power went to Anna Leopoldovna's son, Ivan Antonovich. He ruled the country under the regency of Byron. Anna Ioannovna left the Russian throne to her niece Anna Leopoldovna, but Anna Leopoldovna at the end of Anna Ioannovna's life did not please her. So power passed to Anna Leopoldovna's son, the newly born Ivan Antonovich VI. The regent of Ivan VI was Ernst Johann Byron. Further events developed rapidly. In just 1 year, there were 3 palace coups. Almost immediately after the death of Anna Ioannovna, Byron was overthrown by a coup by Ostermann, who briefly took over the supreme state power in Russia. But Ostermann was soon dethroned by Minich. Thanks to this, Anna Leopoldovna came to power. She, like Anna Ioannovna, relied on Germans to govern the country. Meanwhile, a new conspiracy emerged behind her back. As a result, Anna Leopoldovna and Ivan Antonovich only ruled Russia from 1740 to 1741. After this short reign, power passed to Elizabeth Petrovna, daughter of Peter the Great. She loved balls and did not like to receive guests, and she was often sick. In 1741, Anna Leopoldovna was deposed. She became the regent of Ivan in the course of palace intrigues after the overthrow of Byron. Elizabeth Petrovna, the daughter of Peter the Great, was drawn into a conspiracy with the participation of foreigners against Anna Leopoldovna and Ivan VI. Relying on the guards, she easily carried out a coup and deposed Anna Leopoldovna and Ivan VI. Elizabeth I ruled from 1741 to 1761. She loved balls and entertainment. Her favorites were Razumovsky and Shuvalov. Under Elizabeth there were wars, victories, and even attempts at certain reforms. At the same time, in the last years of her life, the Empress was often ill. She could not meet with diplomats, ministers, and other government officials for months. Elizabeth Petrovna got rid of the Byronovshchina and ousted all of the Germans from the upper echelons of government, opening again the way for the Russian nobility, which made her a heroine in their eyes. In 1761, after the death of Elizabeth Petrovna, her grandson, the weak and pale Peter Fedorovich, Peter III, began to rule. His reign is assessed as negative. In 1761, Elizabeth Petrovna died, and her nephew, the son of Anna, the second daughter of Peter the Great, came to the Russian throne. This emperor ruled the country for less than 6 months. Peter III has received contradictory but most often negative reviews. In Russia, he was considered not a patriot and a foolish man. After all, in his early childhood, Peter was brought up as a pretender to the throne of Sweden, not the Russian Empire. In June of 1762, Peter III was overthrown by his own wife, the future Empress Catherine II. With her began a new era of Russian history. It was the reign of Catherine II that ended the era of palace coups. The uncertainty in the transfer of power ended with the adoption of Paul's law on the succession to the throne. The era of palace coups greatly affected the country and greatly shook all branches of government. For almost 30 years, the country was terrorized by coups and intrigue. Fortunately, with the arrival of Catherine II, everything returned to normal and that crazy time came to an end. Which ruler do you think contributed the most during this time? Let us know in the comments down below. That'll be all. Thank you very much for watching. We wish you a good mood and a fair wind. Pancake, everyone.